Good evening, everyone. It's here. It's Friday. It's rolled around again. And can't really accuse me of pouring a flaky one this evening, can you? Cheers, everyone. Oh, depending upon where your definition of the beginning of the week is, that's the first one of the week. I'm defining the week as beginning on a Friday, so why not? Let's see who we've got in this evening. I see we've got Johnny Random was first in, and then we've got Michael Palmer and Dr. Gomez. Dr. Gomez is very generously sending me a pedal. Apparently he's already sent it to me, but it hasn't arrived yet. I just thought I'd mention that. It's going to be an interesting one. It's we'll kind of come to that when we come to it. So we've got Dr. Gomez, Michael Palmer, Johnny Random. Then there's Balder and Mike Hurley and Steve Entwistle saying, one day I'll be first on this chat. Hi all. Well, hi back, Steve, excuse me. It's a bit gassy, this Heineken. That's the only drawback with it. Then we've got Anton and BP Guitar Kit from California. Well, hello from a rather sunny but quite chilly and windy Redcar. Then there's Jeff C. and Edwin Toonan. And we got Peter Collins and Sean House. Jeff C., let's put your comment up there, mate. Anyone got a Faisley FRC 618BK? Like the look of it. Anyone got one? I would be interested what they think of it. I know it's the cheap end, but my funds are low. Well, I don't even know which one that is. I've just finished shooting a bit of a Faisley video today, so I know it's not that one because it's just going off topic just for a little bit. We'll get back to the roll call in a moment. You know, I often wonder if the Fender Stratocaster would have been as successful if it had been the Fender F9T357XYP or something like that. I just wish manufacturers would give things names rather than new numbers. It is a bit of a bugbear of mine. And then we've got Terry Day and Ian Clark and Phil H. Is saying, ordered the Harley Benton 450 plus. Anyone know approx how long it takes to arrive once shipped? It depends on how long they sit on your order for, mate. Yes, that's still left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Usually, when you, in past experience, when you get something shipped from Toman here in the UK, I remember my first ever Harley Benton that I bought was the Harley Benton SC 450 plus. I ordered that on a Sunday and it was here on the Wednesday. So I'm assuming that meant that ordering it on a Sunday meant that it kind of got dispatched on the Monday. So very quickly, usually, but they've dropped the ball of late, have Toman. Excuse me. And then we've got Chip Young and David Evans and John Channing. Malcolm Spillett. Hi all, but also goodbye. I thought I'd show my face before I go off to the hospital to visit my wife. Have a good weekend, John and all. Well, Malcolm, give your missus, your better half, perhaps, our best regards, and I hope you'll come back and watch the stream on Catch Up. And hello to anyone else who is also watching on Catch Up. Then we've got Paul Trainer is in, and John Ross and Lawrence Hastings. And scrolling down, Stuart Young. Oh, this is interesting. New Guitar Week. Just bought an Alvarez Masterworks OM, and I must say they are great value for money. Solid mahogany, bone nut and saddle, ebony bridge pins, abalone inlay. Well, please. That sounds like a rather nice guitar, mate. Then, who else have we got? We've got Marvellous Bloke and the Essex Cat and Robert Z, Jimmy James, Chris Otterwell, Dudley Squat. You're all in. Then there's Paul Bush, Martin Scholes, Darren Myers. Nice to see you in, Darren. And then we've got Watches and Guitars, Jay Aoyong, Colin Falcon, 21st Century Boy, Evening Aussie. And then the chat has just refreshed, so I've lost my place. And who else we got? I'm just trying to find where I was in the chat. There we go. Darren Myers was the last one of the last ones I mentioned. 21st Century Boy. I'm No Creative, and David James and Cylon Hybrid, Ron Wells, Stuart Young, John Mack, OK Live, Nancy Davis, Maiden Wolves, Peter S, Thomas Mulvaney, and who else we got? Stratboy999, and Steve Lamb. How are you, mate? And there's Don Carter, Pablo Hank, Grandpa Joe. Watching today from the beaches of Aruba. Wishing you all a great weekend. Well, yeah, we've got a beach here. I bet yours is a bit warmer than ours. Then we've got Reloader and Jeffrey Boyle, Steve Muskie, and Sargi's in there. And who else? We've got William Forrest, Ravi, and Robster Boy sneaking in under the wire there. So I do apologise if I've missed you, but on this StreamYard platform, periodically the chat refreshes and you completely lose your place. So there you go. Anyway, I've been talking for far too long without having a drink. Excuse me. The first one never touches the sides, does it? Right then, as is the custom, around about this time of the evening, I fill you in on what's coming up on the channel this week. No Saturday video this week. Those are saved for special occasions or when I need to just make an impromptu video that wasn't planned. But there is a Sunday video as always, and this week it's a bit of a departure. It sticks to the same usual format that the Sunday videos kind of have evolved into. Excuse me, I just need my vape. You know, a solo and then me talking about it, that kind of thing. But I'm not reviewing a guitar or, you know, kind of doing anything equipment related. This week, it's more of a personal video. It's a little tribute, a little tip of the hat, a little homage to what I think is the best song on the best album ever recorded. It's the song that turned me on to the blues as a musical genre. And it's been a while since I've done one of those videos where I, you know, just kind of do an extended jam and get a few of the toys out of the box, different guitars that are kind of hanging around in here. And I always enjoy doing those videos because when I do them, I try to kind of imagine that each guitar is like a different personality and try and do it that way, so to create a bit of contrast. Whether that comes across in the finished product or not is anyone's guess. But well, it's certainly not for me to say. But yes, my little tribute to what I think is the greatest song on the greatest album ever recorded. And you can talk amongst yourselves and see which album kind of that might be and which song on that album you think I'm talking about. And then Monday, another blues solo, actually. A little while ago, gosh, a couple of years ago, I did one of the many fantastic solos from the Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore album, and I thought it was about time I did another one. And this time it's well, I'll just tell you what it is. It's Statesboro Blues. It's the Dickie Betts solo from that. It's an absolute textbook example of how to use major pentatonics in a blues, which is something that I often get kind of asked about because it's something that people seem to struggle with. You know, that whole kind of major pentatonic thing. But Dickie Betts, being that slightly more country flavored player, you know, sounds like Rambling Man, I suppose. You know, he does tend to err more towards the major side of things. So that's why I decided to do that solo. Then on Tuesday, well, you probably already know what Tuesday's video is all about because it's a top 5 video. And if you watch this week's or this week gone, that top 5 video, when I did the what was going to start off as my 5 favorite YouTube guitar videos, and ended up being all about Gary Moore. Well, this is sort of the best of the rest. This is the all of the my 5 favorite non-Gary Moore guitar YouTube videos. Then a bit of a special one on Wednesday. Wednesday, as you know, is the slot where I do viewers viewer-generated content, basically. If you have a question or a comment or just some kind of something that you want to see me make a video on, then chances are it's going to end up in the Wednesday slot. And so if you do have any suggestions for videos, questions you want answered, topics you want addressed, anything like that, then don't put it in the chat, because chances are, as I'm sat at your blethering, I'll miss it. Drop me an email, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, or you can email me via the contact form on the lessons page of my website, which is johnrobsonmusic.co.uk, and the link to that is in all of the descriptions for all of the videos. Or you can leave a comment underneath the video, leave it in the comment section. I'll get to see it that way. Any comment, any question at all, anything that you want to see me address on the channel that is, as I say, either remotely guitar or music related. And well, this coming Wednesday's video is all about how I make a video. I've kind of skirted around this topic in the past, but I've never really sort of done it in the way that I'm going to do it today. It's basically how I, basically make a video. The video in question is the video that's going out on the next day. It's how I edit the video. It's how I put the demo piece together. It's the whole process from beginning to end. Well, obviously truncated a little bit and shortened and summarized, but that's basically Wednesday's video. A lot of people kind of want to know what goes through my head as I'm kind of putting a demo piece together. Do I have a formula? Well, if you listen to any of the demo pieces that when I'm demoing guitars, you can definitely, I think, hear that there is a recipe, a formula there. But having a formula or a recipe never seemed to hurt Coca-Cola, did it? And so that's Wednesday's video, and Thursday's video, which is the video that I'm making in Wednesday's video. Obviously, that is all about new pickups for this guitar. Okay, still loving this. I know it divides opinion. I know it absolutely. Some people really, really don't like the look of this guitar, and I got to be honest with you. It ain't the looks that made me want to buy this guitar. It was just the addictive. There's that word again. I've used that many times in relation to that guitar. The addictive playability. But I wasn't very keen on the tone. So getting the tone the way I wanted is a bit of a work in progress. There's going to be another video on that in the long term. But the first thing I did was put the treble bleed in. Next thing is new pickups, and you'll find out exactly what those pickups are and, what they sound like, more importantly, in Thursday's video. So there you go, folks. That is what is coming up on the channel this week. And I will just invite you to talk amongst yourselves and get ready to type the word flake, because I shall try and do my best to get a big foamy head on this. There we go. There we go. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. So that's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's, it's the Heineken does tend to pour nicer than that Morrison's export lager, which is a nice drop as well, but it does tend to come out rather lively, it has to be said. So let's... Ian Clark paper bag, thank you, mate. Put it away. You're all referring to the to that rather unique looking guitar, aren't you? Let's see what we've been talking about while I've been blethering. Stuart Young is saying, was listening to Jack Pearson play slide just yesterday. Another Allman Brothers alumnus, makes that thing sing. He is an absolutely monster guitar player, isn't he? Let's have a look. Oh, that was in rather poor taste there, Balder. Danny Burns. John, have you ever played any of the Washburn Idol series guitars? I have one and absolutely love it. Might be something to check out. Don't know if they're still being made. I don't think they are made, but I do have a kind of an invitation to borrow one. It's just the guy who's going to be lending it to me. Well, you've met him. My pal David, who loaned me that Marty Friedman Les Paul and many PRSs and his SG and loads of stuff. He owns one of the USA idols. I think he might own one of the were they made in Korea, the sort of import ones, but one of the Far Eastern versions of it. And there was talk of me doing a comparison between the Washburn Idol and that Yamaha Revstar that I had when I still had it, but we couldn't. Basically, things kind of got life got in the way, essentially. But David is rather busy at the moment because he's well, probably by now he's become a father, and I don't imagine he's getting a lot of sleep or getting much time to play the guitar. So yes, I'm going to let things settle down a bit with David, and then I shall rattle his cage and kind of say, that Washburn you were wanting to lend me. So yeah, I have got that is sort of medium to long term video to do. Let's see what else we've got. Geronimo is saying, are you going into the DJ business? No, why would I be going into the DJ business? Ah, I see, because you're looking at that box behind me. No, that is the standard box that Bach's Music send all of their guitars out in, and it's just got that picture on the front. So, I see we've got 60s man in. How are you, mate? OK Live is saying problems with orders from Germany could be due to customs services. At least that's what I experienced with goods orders from GB to Belgium. No, it's got nothing to do with customs, because the delay with that guitar that I ordered from Toman wasn't down to customs, because it never got shipped. They simply didn't. They just sat on my order. It wasn't like they shipped it and then it got kind of snarled up at some border post somewhere. It just didn't. They said in stock, and took my order, took my money, and then didn't send it. I think it's more likely a software issue where the website is showing things that are in stock that actually aren't. So we've got Richard Alvey in. Let's have a look, see what we got going on else in the chat. I must admit, I've just had a bit of a cursory glance at the chat, but nobody's kind of talking about what I think is the greatest song on the greatest album ever recorded. Have I missed that? Did I skip an entire conversation about that? Anton is saying, new CD day, Cardinal Black. Chris Buck is an amazing guitarist, well worth buying. I agree with you, mate. He is an absolutely astonishing guitarist and a nice bloke as well. Every time you kind of see his videos, which he is, one of me. I'm going to have to do a part 2 of my favourite YouTube guitarist videos, aren't I? He's just a great guy and a great player, and he's one of those players that, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you hear one note and you know it's him. Excuse me, I'm just going to get some light on my. There we go. That's it. You can see me better now. You can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Give us a clue on the quiz question. I'm going for Bell Bottom Blues. Lawrence Hastings, Funky Moped. Still got the blues. Right. Okay. Where are we? Who was it? Ron Wells said, I'm going for Bell Bottom Blues. That's the right album. It is the greatest album ever recorded as far as I'm concerned. And these things are personal. I'm not saying that if you have a different opinion, you're wrong, but you are. No, it's I absolutely love that Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs album. It is just a masterpiece from beginning to end. The greatest song on that album is the song that turned me on to the blues, and that is Key to the Highway. An impromptu jam that I think it must have been Tom Dowd, who was it the engineer or producer on that album, just had the good sense to kind of hit the record button. And dear me, it's an absolute belter. I have another blues project that I'm going to be having a look at some point. If anyone remembers the Brian May Starfleet EP, anyone remember that? Am I the only person that remembers that? Because I even talked to kind of die-hard Queen fans, and I said the Brian May Starfleet project, and what? Briefly, what that was, if you're not aware, Starfleet was this kind of Saturday morning kind of kids cartoon sort of sci-fi animation sort of thing that was on, I think, in the 80s. And the theme tune, and Brian May's kids used to watch it, and the theme tune, Brian kind of just for a laugh, really, I get the sense, recorded a version of it. And if you're Brian May, you can sort of pick up the phone and speak to Eddie Van Halen and invite him round to come and be part of that. So they did this, and then there's like the B side of it is like an extended blues jam with Brian May. I forget who else is on it, but there's Brian May and Eddie Van Halen kind of jamming blues. And dear me, it's well worth a listen. So I'm going to kind of selectively, it goes on for about a fortnight though, so I'm not going to do the whole thing. But I'll probably kind of snip a bit out of it and do a solo analysis on that at some point. Oh dear me, many people remember the Starfleet. Layla is a great album. Eric isn't the greatest vocalist. Well, no. He's much as I would like to disagree with that, I can't really. But I think I can't imagine anybody else doing vocals on that album. That said, as those words were coming out of my mouth, one of my favourite albums that I've discovered only very recently is the Tedeschi Trucks Band live rendition of that entire album. If you're not familiar with it, it's called Live at Locken or something like that, I think it's called. And and it's like listening to a tribute but not an impersonation. Do you know what I mean? It's just the entire album played live by the Tedeschi Trucks Band. It's fantastic. So I was saying I couldn't imagine it being played by anybody else, but then it has been, and it sounds okay. I see we've got C. McCulloch there, our Red Car side, and plenty of people still have. Oh, Balder, are you saying it was dreadful along with everything we do is driven by you? Yeah, well, okay, opinions vary, mate, but I love that Starfleet project. It was just a daft little kind of side hustle by Brian May when Queen were on a bit of a hiatus in the 80s. Phil is saying Eric Clapton sings like a blues guitarist, like the old acoustic guys, Robert Johnson, Willie McTell. Yeah, I mean, oh, excuse me, I've just clicked on something. Oh, no, we got it back. I don't know if anything happened on your side, but the screen went blank there when I tried to scroll down the chat. But yeah, Eric, again, I've read his autobiography more than once, and he was very, very insecure about his vocal abilities. His first, I think, recorded vocal, I might be wrong, was Rambling on My Mind from the Blues Breakers album. And he hated singing that because he hated the sound of his own voice, and he hated the fact that it was on the album. But Mr. Mail insisted, apparently, and that was the boss. He was the gaffer, and he did as he was told. So, I think he got better. Another guitar player who, this is a talking point, Gary Moore. Okay. You know my thoughts on Gary's playing. I absolutely adore his playing. But I went right off. I don't think I bought a Gary Moore album after Blues for Greenie, or possibly the BBM thing with Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, because they were roughly, in my memory, I can't remember which one was before or after there. I didn't buy a single Gary Moore album after that sort of period because of his singing. Something happened to his voice, and it only happened on his studio work. The evidence of that, I would say, is that there are live recordings, most notably that Phil Lynott tribute concert that I mentioned in Tuesday's video, where his singing is absolutely fine. You know, I mean, again, Gary was never. He wasn't David Coverdale. He wasn't Paul Rodgers. You know, he was himself. You know, and you didn't go out and buy a Gary Moore album for the singing. It was the guitar play that was the kind of shop window for his music. But something happened to the studio recordings of his vocals that I just found his voice absolutely unlistenable. It kind of took on a nasal, nasty quality that I just couldn't listen to. And that was, as I say, it started happening around about Blues for Greenie, BBM, that kind of period. And then he went all a bit weird for a couple of albums, didn't he? Like Dark Days in Paradise and that odd, bizarre kind of techno kind of dance music. What was it called? A different beat. And I just thought, nah, this isn't for me. I'll check in with you again in a little while, Gary. And Back to the Blues was a bit of a disappointment, I thought. Again, because of his singing. I listened to a couple of tracks. I think they came on a Guitar Magazine CD, or that might have been, I might have had the internet by then and been listening to it there. I don't know, but yeah. Don't know what happened to his voice, but it didn't seem to affect his live performances. David Evans is saying, what's your opinion on the Gary Moore Run for Cover album? I really like it. Got it back in boarding school in 1985. Yeah, I really wanted to like it because I'd discovered Gary via the Victims of the Future album, which a guy who was living in the college dorm with me, was constantly playing that, on the sort of communal boombox there. And then got that, and then sort of I went out and bought the album, I think, on cassette, as you did in those days. And then went backwards and discovered Corridors of Power, and then, the whole kind of Thin Lizzy stuff, Black Rose and so on. And then, by this time, I'd sort of sated my appetite for Gary Moore, and he's got a new album out called Run for Cover. And the single, Out in the Fields, had already been re-released, and it was great. And then I heard what he'd done to Empty Rooms, an absolutely achingly beautiful ballad. And it sounded like, he was kind of doing a Depeche Mode arrangement of it. That album, Run for Cover, for me, my abiding memory of it, and I haven't listened to it in, I guess, 30 years, really, is that there's just far too much cheesy 80s synthy kind of keyboardy sort of stuff all over it, and whether that was a synthy sort of keyboard or whether it was a synthy kind of guitar syntax kind of thing that he was plugging at the time, I do not know. But yeah, it's, I mean, each to their own. It's not an album of his that I really warm to. The next one though, Wild Frontier, oh dear me. Oh, I absolutely love that album. I still listen to it today. It's, for me, that's another album where I just don't have to skip a track. It's just, I'm Over the Hills and Far Away, Wild Frontier, and, The Loner. And even that kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek version of Friday on My Mind on that album, it's... It ticks the boxes for me, and perhaps there's just as much keyboard on that as there was on Run for Cover. I just don't know. Run for Cover just didn't do it for me. Yeah, 21st Century Boy. I heard Gary Phil treated treated Phil badly on the Black Rose tour, leaving halfway through was a tad out of order. The reason he left, and I suppose there's two sides to every story, the reason he left was because Phil and Scott Gorham were absolutely kind of out of their minds on the old, kind of heroin, basically. And, he was saying, when it got to the point where we couldn't even play the title track of the album that we were touring because they were just too out of it. That was the final straw. There'd been from what I understand, and this is just my understanding. I must stress, that there was there'd been a build up to it. Let's put it that way. When it's like, we need to get this sorted. Yeah, we'll get it sorted, and it never did, and it just got worse and worse. And he said, "Okay." I said, if it didn't get sorted, I'm going to leave, and he did. So, was he justified or wasn't he? So, I don't know. All I can say is I've been in bands where, not at that level, obviously, but I've been in bands where the frustration with other people's lack of professionalism has got to the point where I think, if I don't leave, this is going to drive me crazy, and I've left. So I can kind of sympathise. Yeah, 21st century boy, but in steps mid-Jewer indeed. Oh, thank you, Colm Cross Bay. You are a gentleman and a scholar. It's that'll get me 4 cans of Galahad at Aldi. Cheers, mate. Phil never found another guitarist that could play Black Rose live after Gary left. The thing is, though, and I was watching this on YouTube the other day, and again, I'm not entirely sure of the timeline, but around about the same time as there was this big falling out between Gary and Phil, Phil sings guest vocals on Parisian Walkways, and, there's... and Scott Gorham appears in the video, and the YouTube video I'm talking about is the one that was on the an extract from the Old Grey Whistle Test, where Gary plays an absolutely blinding version of Back on the Streets, which I think was the album that he released after he left Thin Lizzy. And Phil's there, and Scott Gorham's there, and Cozy Powell. What a lineup! Phil Lynott on bass, Gary Moore on lead guitar, Scott Gorham rhythm guitar, and who else we got? We've got Cozy Powell on drums and Don Airy on keyboards. I mean, I did a video a little while ago about supergroups. I mean, there's one right there, isn't it? Oh, Paul Trainer, thank you so much, mate. I'm going to have a beer to celebrate. You're a gentleman, mate. Thank you so much. And then, of course, Gary and Phil worked together many, many times. Throughout, until, I guess the whole Black Rose kind of falling out sort of thing happened in 79, and Phil died in 86. So, in the intervening years, there was they worked together and seemed to be kind of still friendly many times. So I don't think it was that big a deal to either of them. Let's have a look at what Jeff Rock's saying. I know you mentioned it Tuesday, but that Black Rose One Night in Dublin is amazing. A song that makes you want to close your eyes and dream it's you up there playing it. I thought it was just me that did that. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That entire gig. And I got to say, the real star of the show is Gary, but the major kind of star of that particular show is the audience. They are kind of up for it. I bet there was some Guinness consumed that evening. That's all I'm saying. It was Dublin, and they were having a good time. Deco dude. Oh, Scott was a nice man. He showed me a few licks. Well, we can. That's you'll have to elaborate on that at some point, mate. How come you knew Scott Gorham? let's see. What else we got? Have a look in the chat. Yeah, Pablo Hank. Gary was offered the guitar job in Ozzy's band before Randy turned it down because he didn't want to work full time with another drug alcohol addict. Yes, yep. Although, Gary, I beg your pardon. He did kind of help Ozzy audition musicians for his band. So, like, if they were auditioning a guitarist, Gary's drummer and bass player would kind of stand in, and if they were auditioning a drummer, then Gary's band minus the drummer would kind of be the audition band. So there you go. Anyway, what you're saying there, 21st century boy. Scott Gorham had it all. He was talented, good looking, and he knew Phil Lynott topped that. Yeah, indeed. And then Maidenman 74 saying, I was late to the table where Gary Moore is concerned. It was that one night in Dublin on YouTube when I first really appreciated the awe. We do 2 versions of the song, and then I was hooked. Yeah. Don't believe a word. The first version of that song that I heard was the slow blues version from the Back on the Streets album, because I can't remember what it's. I've got another Thin Lizzy talking point in a moment as well, so I just need to remember that. It came into my head earlier, and then we got talking about other stuff, and then it kind of went. It's come back again. But yeah, the first version of that I heard was that slow blues version, and I love the way it goes into the shuffle at the end. And apparently, Peter Green visited Gary Moore in the studio when they were recording that album, and he listened to that, and he says, "That's really cool. That sounds like something Fleetwood Mac might have done." And Gary goes, "You did. I stole that from Black Magic Woman, where that goes into the shuffle at the end." And so I for me, that slow blues version of Don't Believe a Word, if you don't know it, then just go and check it out. It's completely different to the Thin Lizzy version, but I mean, an absolutely stunning solo. That solo on that song is, I'm going to make a confession now, it is the one solo that I've had to abandon doing a video about, because not to put too fine a point on it, it defeated me. You listen to it and you think, this is a slow bluesy kind of nice kind of bluesy laid back solo with the odd little flash of brilliance in there, but it was that odd little flash of brilliance that just kind of kicked my backside. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to be spending 6 weeks putting one solo together. And so I might go back to it at some point. Yes, the other Thin Lizzy talking point, live albums. We think about Thin Lizzy live albums, or the live album is Live and Dangerous. That's the one that everybody talks about, and it's a great album. I won't have a word said against it. But there is another live album. I wonder if you're aware of it. It was from the farewell tour, basically, from the Thunder and Lightning tour when John Sykes was on guitar. And so it's a lot of the later material, songs like Hollywood, and a lot of stuff from the kind of Thunder and Lightning album, Cold Sweat, that's on there, I believe. But there is a live version on there of Black Rose, and because what happens is, because they knew that the band was kind of this, okay guys, this is the final tour, we're taking a break, which ended up being kind of the hiatus of the band. So all of the original guitarists, I think even Eric Bell came back, possibly, I can't remember, I'd have to check. But yeah, there was Gary, there was Brian Robertson, there was Scott, there was John Sykes, and there's an absolutely blistering version of The Rocker on there from was it Tales from the Western, whatever it was, that album. Not Shades of a Blue Orphanage, but the album after that. and sort of whiskey in the jar era. Although they didn't do whiskey in the jar on that live album, which I thought was a bit sad. But yeah, that live album is called Life, and if you're not aware of it, it's a much heavier, much kind of punchier album than Live and Dangerous, but it is, I think, equally as good and doesn't get anywhere near the recognition it deserves. So I'm just putting it out there. There you go. Let's see what we've been talking about. Gary Moore, Strat or Les Paul? Well, I first got to know Gary. Gary's playing, I should say, as a Strat player, really. So for me, it was a bit of a surprise when he went to a Les Paul. I didn't know the whole backstory with the Peter Green Les Paul and everything at the time. Deco Dude is saying, John, as I said, I used to do front line for Phil on his solo stuff. Yes, I remember you mentioning it, mate. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. We've got Jamal in. How are you, mate? Evening, all a bit late tonight as my old mum had to go to hospital. Getting better. Came back home and plugged in Another Girl on Another Planet and came from somewhere to my fingers. Feel better. Well, nice one, mate. Glad to have you along. Hope your mum's feeling better. Let's see what else has been going on. Well, I've been blethering about Thin Lizzy. Black Star Riders were calling themselves Thin Lizzy for a while before they got caught themselves on. Can't be Thin Lizzy without Phil. Yeah, the thing is, as I understand it, when I think it was Scott Gorham and John Sykes mooted the Thin Lizzy kind of reunion, it was always just that to be like a who was it? Marco Mendoza playing bass and so on. Mate of mine went to see them. They said they were absolutely fantastic, but I didn't go because to me it's not Thin Lizzy without Phil. But there you go. This mate of mine who went to see them said they were absolutely fantastic. Anyway, the point being that they were at the time they were going out under Thin Lizzy to do the Thin Lizzy back catalogue. But you know what musicians are like when they get in a room together. The riffs start getting thrown around. Shall we try this? Oh, what's that you're playing there? Oh, maybe we could do this. And songs started kind of getting written, basically. But I mean, musicians can't help themselves, I think, sometimes. And I think out of respect for the fans and out of respect for Phil, they didn't want to call this new material. They didn't want to call it Thin Lizzy material. So Black Star Riders was born out of that. And I don't think Brian Downey was involved in Black Star Riders, was he? I definitely got the feeling that it's two distinct bands. One is sort of a heritage act. I'm not even sure if that's still going now, but certainly as of mid 2000s, it certainly was. So I'm not entirely sure that Black Star Riders did Black Star Riders material under the Thin Lizzy name. That's my understanding. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly from reading stuff in the music press and what have you, that is what I've gleaned about it. Ricky Warwick, yes, he of the Almighty. Now there's a band I haven't listened to in a long time. Ricky Warwick was the singer in Black Star Riders and that kind of revamped Thin Lizzy. Steve Muskie, did you secretly try Stairway on that 12-string, John? Be honest now. No, I didn't, because it was... whatever I say here, I'm going to sound ungrateful, and I don't mean to, because Dave Lewis very kindly sent me that guitar in good faith, and he basically was essentially if you see it on eBay listed, it'll be listed as opened, never used. He'd never played it. He didn't have any idea of the issues with it, but it was a guitar that, frankly, I couldn't wait to put down. It's just not a nice playing experience. Although I am prepared to give it another try before it goes off to Zoe's place. Many people have said the trick with a 12 string is to drop tune down to D and then capo at the second fret. So I might give that a go and see what happens to the intonation and the tuning stability and the truss rod and all that sort of stuff. But it's not a healthy guitar, that one. It's got some serious issues that frankly I don't know. I might do that video, I might not. We'll see. Let's have a look. Let's see what else we've been. Northern Drifter is saying, I've been checking out Samantha Fish. Well, I guess many people have. There you go. Farjon is saying, anyone like Ronnie Montrose? Ronnie Montrose, now there you're talking. Remember how a couple of weeks ago I did that video on Excuse My Ignorance, bands and artists that I've been aware of but never really checked out until now? Well, Ronnie Montrose is squarely in that category. Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, I discovered them via the suggestions on Spotify. And just this morning, I've said many times, get up on a morning, big bucket of strong coffee and read the paper on my phone, have an album on Spotify, going on Spotify. And what was I listening to this morning? It was, I think it might have been Chris Stone, Kingfish Ingram. And the album got to the end. And just as I'm kind of finishing my coffee and just about to go out the door, walk the dog, this track comes on. And I can't even remember what it was, but it was Montrose. I'm thinking, hello, this sounds rather interesting. So that is a band that, yes, I'm definitely going to check out. Let's have a look. I see you're all talking about there about Samantha Fish. I mean, frankly, Samantha Fish is, even if she wasn't, as well, let's say as appealing to the eye as she is, then what a fantastic guitar player. Colin Crossbay is saying, I'm not aware of Peter Green. What do I listen to that gets me straight into the action? Listen to the album that was the follow-up to the Beano album, the Eric Clapton, John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers album, the Beano album as it's commonly called. By the time that album came out, Eric had left the band and his replacement was Peter Green. And as I maintain many times, I think the Beano album is a great album, but I think A Hard Road, which is the album that Peter Green did with John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers, is a far better album. I think Eric's playing on the Bluesbreakers on the Beano album is very much a work in progress. It's fantastic, but he wasn't a fully formed guitarist at that point. Whereas I think Peter was just like there. This is me. This is who I am. This is how I play. And tracks like The Supernatural, tracks like Stepping Out was the blues was the Beano album, wasn't it? Not Hideaway. What's the other one? The Stumble. That's it. Ironic. I'm stumbling over the title. It's called The Stumble. You Don't Love Me. It's like just every track on that album is just Peter absolutely smoking it. And if your impression of Peter Green that he's this kind of laid back, soulful minimalist, kind of hanging back, the kind of less is more kind of play, yes, he was, but he can also kind of turn on the fire a bit as well. As I say, listen to the version of The Stumble on there. And I did a video, I think it was this year sometime, possibly, Peter Green's finest solo. Someday After a While You'll Be Sorry. the solo from that song, and that's off that album. And it's basically the Need Your Love So Bad chord sequence, that 8-bar gospel blues. But I think for that kind of particular genre of blues, that where it goes to the diminished chord and all that sort of stuff, it's just a far better version of that particular form. Not that there's anything wrong with Need Your Love So Bad; it's an iconic track, but I think Someday After a While is a better, far better song. I love that whole album. If you're looking for a way into Peter Green, then just check that album out. A Hard Road, John Mayall's Blues Breakers. Excuse me. There we go. I'll say it again. Madison Cunningham, what a fabulous player, singer, songwriter. I get the feeling you've been trying to get that point across, Peter. So I'll just put you up on screen there and help you make that point. That is a new name to me, I must admit. Madison Cunningham. Let's have a look. And Colin Crosby is saying on pirate site now. Oh, dear me. I cannot condone such behaviour, mate. Let's see what else we got talking about. Oh, no problem, Peter. Mark Farley's in very late to the community. Northern Thrifter is saying, great community on here. Well, thank you, mate. It's just a little thing that I started when they shut the pubs during lockdown, and I thought, well, let's kind of just all meet. Gentlemen, usually of a certain age. I looked at my my audience analytics on YouTube dashboard the other day, and majority of my audience are gentlemen of a similar age to me. And I mean, I opened the video with hello chaps. Now, just before all the videos with hello chaps, I sometimes get a little bit of flack for that, saying that's about it being not very inclusive. I use the word chaps in the same way that American YouTubers say hi guys. It's not gender specific. Basically, it's I'm just kind of saying hello to everyone who's watching, and there you go. Anyway, I won't go off on that particular rant. I was going to, but I haven't had enough beer yet. And anyway. Where was I going? Yes, my audience analytics. It tends to be chaps of a certain gentleman of a certain age, like myself, 45 to 65 or thereabouts. And, I started the lockdown because I just thought, well, it'd be nice to kind of meet up with a few. I started the lockdown, started the live stream during lockdown. I mean, maybe I've had too much beer. During that first lockdown, because I just thought it'd be nice to kind of get together and have little chats like this. And I must say, I never ever imagined that it was going to have this kind of longevity. I mean, just looking now, 164 of you, you're kind of watching on a kind of Friday evening to a fat, bald northern lad drink beer and talk absolute nonsense for an hour, just this babbling stream of consciousness that comes out of my face. But I enjoy it, and it seems to be kind of not waning in popularity. Yes, indeed, Chip. Oh, John Mack. Oh dear, I'm over 65. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're as young as you feel, mate. I mean, I'm 55 now, and based on the adage that you're as young as you feel, I've been 55 since I was about 20. I was born a grumpy old man, it has to be said. Kebab, or the Moo Place vote. Yeah, you're talking about our evening sustenance. No, this evening it is kebab night. The menu for this weekend is Fridays have become kebab night. Saturdays have become just something out of the freezer. I've got a big batch of beef casserole that I did last week. That might be tomorrow evening's meal of choice. And then Sundays tend to be either Cluck and Moo, which is, yes, there is a fast food place in Redcar called Cluck and Moo, which does kind of like really kind of good artisan burgers and rotisserie chicken and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's either them or Bengal Spice on a Sunday. So that is the plan for this weekend. Oh, Dougal, how is he? He's at an adolescent phase at the moment. He's just 6 months old now, just a little bit over, and he's getting to that rebellious adolescent stage, and he's yeah. I went to the local pet shop yesterday and spent about 40 quid on treats for him, and it came back. I looked like I was a serial killer because I had a plastic bag full of body parts, kind of a certain part of a bull's anatomy that he kind of quite likes. Yes, indeed. Goose feet, chicken feet. Pig's ears, camel skin roll, all this sort of stuff, and so it's but it keeps him quiet and it gives him some, because he's just coming to that sort of thing where most of his adult teeth are there, and but just the urge to chew is quite strong, and I'd rather have him chewing on a bull's kind of what than on me, frankly, because he does seem to he'll just kind of wander up to me as I'm kind of sat watching TV and just go, and suddenly you get like a finger kind of protruding over the arm of the chair. And it's like, that'll do, I'll have a chew on that. So anyway, that he's doing fine. Spoiled rotten. 21st century boy, my cat Dingbat chased a bird up a tree and got stuck earlier in the week. We all get old in the end. Indeed, we do. Thank you, Lawrence, inciting likes on my behalf. Dougal is in the doghouse. Yeah, he's it's just part and parcel of having a dog. Brad Matthews, do you have a German Donna up north, John? I'm not sure a German Donna is. It's I'm not sure what that is, but I just got a Donna kebab from the local kebab place, Marco's. Time Prophet. Sorry, I missed you. Not very well today. Well, get well soon, mate. Get well soon. Brad Matthews, it's a new Ready Steady Go. John Robson guitarist 5 4 3 2 1. The weekend starter. Yes, I remember Ready Steady Go. Just, but only just. Only one way to learn the fretboard is to play the damn thing. Yeah, well, I have a video coming up in the next couple of weeks. You're the wise old guitar guru. We climb the mountain to hear. Well, I wouldn't climb a mountain to listen to this kind of drivel, but there you go. Oh, thank you, J. Aoyong. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you so much, mate. Anyway, chaps, we're going to start winding things up now because I'm coming to the end of the last beer that I've got up here in the office. Don't worry. There's plenty more in the fridge downstairs, and there's even more in the shed outside. I'm well catered for this weekend. And it has been a pleasure, as always. 173 at the current count have turned up to watch a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute rubbish for an hour and drink beer on the internet on a Friday evening. It still staggers me that you turn up every week to watch this, but I'll keep on doing it until you're sick of me. But for now, everyone, time, gentlemen, please.